A victory for diplomacy. Overview. The Iron Confederacy is a large, powerful nation that considers itself the equal of the Empire. Relations with the Confederacy remain civil but strained due to religious and cultural differences. The Iron Confederacy sees itself as a powerful nation, a potential rival to the Empire in size and strength. Such claims are difficult to prove or disprove. The Empire knows very little about its southwestern neighbour. While there have been occasional clashes over the years, neither nation has successfully claimed a target from the other. No nation appreciates being threatened or intimidated, but the Dukes of the Iron Confederacy react especially badly to perceived slights, and thanks to their peculiar beliefs, it's all too easy to offend them. They despise both the Imperial Conclave and the Imperial Synod, for example. They seem to respect the military council and the throne at least, but it's a narrow bridge to build a shared understanding on. The Sorani ambassador to the Empire is Baroness Catherine Lavas of Mior, who operates from the Tor Lavas in Chobret, a territory unknown to Imperial citizens that apparently lies to the west of Veroin. A noble Naga, she replaced the significantly more dogmatic Jeanne de Hibernat, a high priestess of the Sorani god Evra the Smith, Maiden of the Forge. She has already indicated that she is very much more pragmatic than her predecessor, and much more interested in compromise. She still reports to the Dukes of the Iron Confederacy, however, and so her apparent goodwill toward the Empire cannot be relied upon. Treaties and negotiations. At present, the Iron Confederacy have made no moves to embrace the Freedom Accords. Civil servants expect the Confederacy to attempt to play the Liberty Pact and the Freedom Accord off against each other. One area of conflict with the Iron Confederacy is in their treatment of their serfs. Imperial efforts to persuade the Sorani to give up slavery have met with limited success. Eventually, the Iron Dukes agreed to change the status of all their slaves, to put them on the same level as their serfs. They freely acknowledge that the difference is minor, but serfs do enjoy some limited protections that slaves did not. They cannot be harmed out of hand, for example, and cannot be bought and sold as cattle. They still cannot leave the land they are bound to, where they live and work, but the landowner does have some responsibility to ensure that they are not unnecessarily abused. This may be one reason that the so-called Freedom Accord, the alliance sponsored by the Assaveans and the Yarmish, has apparently made overtures to the Sorani. Last season, the Sorani laid out a clear challenge to the Empire to demonstrate the benefits of not accepting the offers of the Freedom Accord, or they would almost certainly choose to join that hostile alliance. Perhaps in response to these carefully couched demands, Ambassador Tetros submitted a treaty to the Senate, which they then ratified. Not only did it grant free trade status to the Iron Confederacy, but it criminalized the sale or export of any and all narcotics to the Iron Confederacy. These provisions are intended to last for 3 years, although repealing them at that time would still require action by the Senate. There's also a little uncertainty as to what narcotics means, but the magistrates are confident that they can provide guidance to that effect. For the moment, it's perhaps best to assume that the ban applies to anything someone could consume that changes their behavior, making the sale of all potions illegal. Liao, of course, is already illegal to sell to the Iron Confederacy via ports or the Sorani Imperial border. Baroness Katerina has included a couple of other suggestions for things that might convince the Sorani to issue the Freedom Accord, making it illegal to preach the Imperial way in the Iron Confederacy, or acknowledging the Sorani people as the equals of the Cassinian Empire. She recounts her disappointment that the Empire and the throne were not able to bring themselves to show their respect in this way, and has tried to explain to the Dukes as to why this might be the case. She does note, wryly, that the ambassador's concerns that working with the Assaveans or the Grendel, also believed to be a part of the Freedom Accord, would bring trouble, while working with the Empire will not, is the sort of statement only someone who has never tried to work with the Empire might make. Nonetheless, they have not made any move to embrace the Assavean and Yarm at this time. Sorani trade. Iron Confederacy merchants are not being impacted by the Assavean bounty. Imperial fleets visiting Robac receive a unique consumable in place of the usual luxury goods. The Sorani still have sanctions in place against Imperial trade, meaning fleets visiting Robac have a -1 penalty to effective rank. Sorani trade is not being impacted by the Assavean bounty. Most Iron Confederacy merchants prefer to travel overland, passing through the Brass Coast to reach Imperial markets, or more often simply selling their goods in Segura, or Ferosh before it was lost. The town of Braemar in particular was a popular destination for Sorani. The decision to allow Iron Confederacy traders to avoid tariffs on their imports is especially welcome. Duke Helen Geradin, the ruler of Veroin, is more interested in the other new law passed by the Senate, or perhaps some of her advisors are. The port of Robec is in Veroin, and a significant amount of imperial trade passes through its docks. Making it illegal for merchants to bring the filth of Dumont to her quayside is a welcome move. Robeck is also the site of one of the largest temples of Evra the Smith, the Sorani god of artisans, crafters, and merchants. In the past, the priests of the Maiden of the Forge have been unsupporting toward trade with the Empire, but the acceptance of this new law may have won at least some of them round. As a consequence, the Duke has removed a prohibition against trading Kobol's Vigor to Imperial merchants. This metallic elixir apparently bolsters the imbiber's battlefield prowess and provides a measure of protection from the insidious effects of Dumont's servants. From the description, the civil service believe it is a tonic that can help remove the effects of weakness in a way that sounds a little like the effect an Abraxas stone has on venom. Exactly what it does, however, is not clear. Unsurprising given it's been illegal for Sorani merchants to trade it to Imperial traders since Robeck opened. Any fleet that trades with Robeck in the coming season will now receive 2 bottles of Kobol's Vigor in place of the 30 rings of luxuries a standard fleet would receive. Duke Geradin has announced that Evra will judge whether Imperial merchants truly value the gifts of the Sorani. The civil service suggests that they will be evaluating how many Imperial fleets visit Robeck in the coming seasons, and that will determine whether the port continues to offer the peculiar Sorani preparation. There is also some speculation as to what other unique preparations the Sorani might be able to brew, given that they eschew magic in all its forms, and even with the supposed miracles of their priests, it is likely they've fallen back on drugs and potions to make up for the lack of ritual enchantments and incantations. It's notable, incidentally, that the one thing the Iron Dukes have not done so far is to relax their own sanctions against Imperial trade. While fleets can visit Robeck, they still suffer a -1 penalty to their effective production. Children of Rex. The Iron Confederacy declines an offer of an alliance against the Children of Rex at this time. While the Children of Rex have been primarily causing trouble for the Empire and the Grendel, there were reports of an attack on Axiom Prison in the Iron Confederacy. Some of the worst Sorani criminals were imprisoned there, along with a few innocent magicians, and apparently several of the cult leaders of the Hand of Dumont. Many of them have apparently joined up with the rogue pirate nation of High Priestess Siobhan. The ambassador has raised this matter with Baroness Katrine and proposed a joint effort against the Children of Rex before they become an even bigger threat. Unfortunately, the Dukes are not minded to embrace any military alliance with the Empire at this time. Baroness Katrine does not come out and say it, but suggests that having been rebuffed when they offered to invade Faroche has disinclined the Iron Confederacy to come running when the Empire decides they want their help. For the moment, the Sorani will protect their own territorial waters and let the Grendel and Empire deal with the threat of the rogue sorcerers. Should they attempt to attack the coast of the Iron Confederacy, they will find the Sorani navies ready and willing to put an end to their depredations. Baroness Katrine is interested in one element of the ambassador's offer, however. They propose that the Children of Rex were brought to these lands by the Assaveans and their Grendel pawns. Do they have any evidence that this is the case? Hand of Dumont. The Sorani believe the Empire should start fighting Dumont by disbanding their conclave and synod. On the subject of the Hand of Dumont, the Baroness is suitably concerned to hear that the ambassador has apparently been declared an enemy of the Wicked One, and does indeed agree that it is important for the Empire to oppose his ambitions and those of his servants. However, she rather primly points out, as far as the Iron Confederacy is concerned, the best way the Empire could do this would be to stop letting his servants, the magicians and wizards who draw on his power to work their corrupt magic, run riot. Shut down the Imperial Conclave, imprison the ringleaders, and punish any magician who dares invoke the wicked wellspring of Dumont. At the same time, they should turn away from the temptations and lies of Dumont as manifest in the wicked drug-fueled magic of the Imperial Synod, and stop enshrining the leavings of the God of Lies as if they offer spiritual benefits. The Confederacy stands ready to help the Empire should they actually wish to oppose Dumont. Finally, all they have to do is ask. The civil service suggests that Baroness Katrine is not being entirely serious. She's pragmatic enough to realize that the Conclave and Synod are woven into the fabric of imperial society. At the same time, though, she is simply presenting the attitudes of her peers. The Iron Confederacy believes the Empire is irredeemably corrupt, a playground for Dumont's followers, and fundamentally separated from the power of the true gods. Return of the Wolf-Hound. Sir Marquette Lavasse and his bodyguard Sir Guillaume are travelling to the Empire to meet with the ambassador to the Iron Confederacy. They also wish to meet with either the Emperor or a representative of her household, and have suggested that the ambassador to Faradin may also wish to attend. They will arrive at the Imperial offices at or around 10:30 a.m. on the Saturday of the upcoming summit. Last winter, the Iron Confederacy sent a diplomatic delegation to attend the coronation of Empress Vesna. Sadly, the position of ambassador to the Iron Confederacy was vacant at the time, meaning that the Serani representatives arrived without anyone expecting them. Despite this, the delegation was able to speak with the Emperor, and later presented them with a priceless replica heirloom. Last summit, the Senate passed a treaty with the Iron Confederacy, offering them free trade status and criminalizing the export of narcotics to the Iron Confederacy for 3 years. The Serani have accepted this treaty, although reactions at the embassy have apparently been somewhat guarded. Whatever the case, it seems that the treaty has had its intended impact. No arrangement has been reached between the Serani and the Freedom Accord. The staff at the embassy do not seem to regard the matter as entirely closed, however, and as such a diplomatic delegation is making its way to Anvil to discuss the matter in more detail. After his previous visit, the civil service have done some digging into Sir Marquette Lavas. He is one of Baroness Catarine's relatives, a group who apparently make up the lion's share of the ambassador's inner circle. He is also, so the rumour goes, known as the Wolfhound, partly due to his skill as a hunter, partly due to the fact he is notorious for being the Baroness's attack dog. If Baroness Catarine wishes to test someone, she sends Sir Marquette to shout, complain, make unreasonable demands, and generally make an intimidating nuisance of himself, then sees how people react to him. The assorted diplomats at the embassy speak on this fairly casually, with no indication that the Empire might be offended by such treatment. It is, after all, just part of the great game. Whether Sir Marquette is being sent in this capacity or for a more cordial discussion remains to be seen. Word has been sent ahead that he and his bodyguard, Sir Guillaume the Grim, will be arriving at Anvil at or around 10:30 a.m. on the Saturday of the forthcoming summit. They expect to be met at the Imperial offices, as befits their station, in order to discuss how the current positive relations between the Cassinian Empire and the Iron Confederacy can be cemented. They obviously wish to speak with Tethros I Zuri I Erigo, the current ambassador, but have also suggested that the ambassador to Faradin may benefit from attending, though they have not said why. A request has been made that either the Emperor herself or a representative of her household, who can speak on their behalf, be present. It's not stated outright, but the implication is that the Serani have far more respect for the face of the Empire than any mere elected officials. Visiting priests. 2 Serani priests are travelling to the Empire to meet with the ambassador to the Iron Confederacy and fleet owners Sianu and Caesar. They will arrive at the hub at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, where they expect the ambassador to meet and escort them to a private location. Separate to the official delegation, word comes only a little before the start of the Autumn Equinox summit that an additional group of Serani wish to meet with Tethros I Zuri I Erigo, ambassador to the Iron Confederacy. They have also invited Navari Sianu and Urizeni Caesar to attend. The Temple of the Veiled King has sent 2 priests to discuss an urgent matter. No further elaboration has been given, but a Serani temple choosing to contact the Imperial Civil Service is beyond a rarity, so it's perhaps unsurprising that their missive was so brief. Marin and Esten, with no other names given, apparently aim to arrive at the hub at 1:30 on the Saturday of the Autumn Equinox. They expect the ambassador to the Iron Confederacy to meet them there and escort them to a more appropriate location for a private conversation. Baron de Bestel. Emissaries of Baron de Bestel are visiting Anvil in response to a private invitation. They will arrive at the hub at 5 p.m. on Saturday, where they will pay their regards to the ambassador before meeting their host. 2 more Serani are making their way to Anvil for the equinox. Baron de Bestel has sent 2 of her family, believed to be one of her children and one of her siblings, to take up an invitation given by a Cassinian noble. They are unwilling to be drawn on the specifics of their visit, and seem to be intending to give the ambassador only the greetings required by formality before going about their business. Presumably, whoever sent the invitation is expecting them, and will find a quiet place to rest and talk about whatever they're here to discuss.